Okay, kids, multiple alleles. That's our topic today. Pause the screen, check out the learning goals and success criteria before you move on. It's going to be a short one, so it won't take too much of your time. So, from our last lessons, we've only looked at genes that have two alleles. We were able to look at one gene or two genes together with our one trait cross, or our two trait crosses. But if we look at in reality, in humans, we have multiple alleles sometimes because we have more than one or two alleles that determine that specific gene. For example, your eye color is way more complex than just a one or two trait cross. So multiple alleles also determine something that we're going to talk about today called our blood groups. So we have to think about what type of blood you have. If you don't know, it's a good idea to get to know what your blood type is, just in case something happens, or if you want to give blood. I mean, they can determine what blood type you have regardless, but it's good to know sometimes. So in humans, one gene actually determines a person's ABO blood type. We call it ABO because there's blood type A, blood type B, blood type O, and blood type AB. This gene actually determines what type of antigen is attached to the cell membrane of your erythrocytes, which are your red blood cells. And these antigens will dictate how your body is going to react to different blood types. So, an antigen is a molecule that stimulates the body's immune system. So, when your body actually sees that antigen, it will decide whether or not to accept that blood type or to reject it. So the gene is represented when we're looking at our Punnett squares is going to be represented by the letter I. Has three common alleles: I, capital IA, capital IB, and a small I. Now these rules actually follow what we've been doing with one or two trait crosses, where your capital letter is going to be determining which one is dominant. So we have our IA and IB here. They are both dominant, and then we have our little I, which is recessive. And since you get two alleles, one from your dad, one from your mom, there's combinations that they can make. So there's going to be four different phenotypes that it can create. So you have a blood type A, which is going to be two dominant alleles for A, and then blood type B is two dominant alleles for type B. Now they also have their heterozygous variables, which is our A allele with a recessive or a B allele with a recessive. Both of these can give you a type A blood, and both of these IBIB and IB little I can give you type B blood. Now, in order for you to be a type AB blood, you have to have IAIB. Okay, so there's no recessives with the type AB blood. And for type O blood, you only have recessive for that allele or for that trait. So, in a nutshell, it can all be determined just by what your IA, IB, or I combination is in terms of what was given to you by your parents. So as you can see here on the chart to the left, we can see that as each of these are given from each of your parents, you can get a combination based on how you do the Punnett square. So we talked about antigens, and the IA allele is now, we have a better understanding of it, because I is our blood type determined by A, B, or whether or not an absence of it. So that superscript is technically tells us what we have in terms of antigens. So if you have type A antigen, you're going to be an IA. If you have type B antigen, you're going to be IB. If there's no antigens, you're just going to be a recessive I. And when there's IA, IB together, they become codominant. So in your group type, or your type A, B, AB, or group O types, you can see that here we have our blood, red blood cells, okay, and outside of the red blood cells, these are our little antigens. Okay, so blood type group A has A antigens. These are the little red, represented by little red pins. Okay, so if you have those, you're type A. Okay, if you're type B blood, you have these little green pins called B antigens. If you're type group AB, that means you have both A and B. So it looks like it has a combination of both. And if you're type O, you don't have type A or B, so you have none, no antigens. Now, in your bodies, there are these things called antibodies, which will fight against foreign materials. And if you're a group A blood, you have group A antigen, that means in your plasma, in your blood, there's these things called anti-B antibodies. So what they do is they do not like B antigens. So their job is when they see B antigens, they're going to reject it. That's why you're group A for your blood type, because it'll accept anything that is A antigen. Now, it's going to be reverse for those who are group B type blood, because they have an anti-A antibody in their plasma. They'll reject anything that has A antigen and it'll accept everything that is B antigens. Now, group AB is a little bit weird because they do not have any antibodies for antigens in their plasma, so they'll accept everybody. So that means they can actually accept type A blood, they could accept type B blood, and they could accept type group A, B, and O blood as well. So they don't have any antibodies, they'll take anything because nothing in their body is going to fight against any blood that goes in there. That's why we call them the universal receiver, type AB blood. Now, type O blood is our last one. This is the special case where it does not have any antigens in their body. No antigens. So, no antigens means that they can give to any other group type, because other group types have antigens in their blood. And if you're group O blood, you don't have any antigens, you can give to another group type. So let's say you give to group A, they have their anti-B, they only fight against anti-B, but if you have group O blood going in there, there's no antigens, they have nothing to fight, so then they'll accept it. Okay, and same goes for group B and group AB. Now, the difference is people with group O blood have anti-A and anti-B antibodies. So if they see any blood that has either A antigen, B antigens, or A and B antigens, they are going to reject it right away. Okay, so in this case, type O blood can only receive from type O blood, but type O blood can give to any group. So we call them the universal donor. Okay, so that's how the basic group ABO group works. Now, you're going to ask me, oh, what about like positive and negative? Well, that's called an RH factor. And for the purpose of what we're learning today, we're just going to stick with ABOs. RH factor, you may have a chance to learn about it in post-secondary education. But until then, we're just going to stick with this because this is our multiple alleles. The concept is very similar to our one trait crosses, but now we have a little bit that's different, is that there's 3 or 4 possible things that can come up based on what we cross. So let's take a look at our example here today. So if a man has type O blood and a woman has type B blood, what possible blood types could their children have? So we have to know what type O is. So we said from before, let's go back to the slide before that. Type O blood. Let me get rid of all the ink here. So type O blood is II. Type O blood is here with II. So 2 lowercase i's, and we know that type B blood is the woman's. So it could be IB lowercase I or IB. So go back to our question. Let's draw out what the man has. Man has type O. So man is going to be I, 2 lowercase. And woman is going to be 2 possible ones, which is I, B, I, or IB. IB. Okay, so it doesn't give us any clues on which one the woman is, so we gotta have to do 2 Punnett squares for this to figure out. So if I do my Punnett square, it's gonna look something like this. So here's the one for if the mother is homozygous for dominant IB, or if the mother is heterozygous in the second one. So the results are slightly different. Okay, and we can see that the children could result in 100% type B if they're in the top, if their mom is fully type B, or if their mom is heterozygous type B, then there's a 50-50 chance that their children could be type B and 50-50 chance that their children could be type O. And let's take a look at the second question. If this couple has 6 children, all with blood type B, what could you infer about the genotype? Well, if they're all type B, and if the mom is heterozygous, there's a 50-50 chance that they're going to be type O. But here, if the mother is homozygous for type B, then there's a 100% chance they're going to be type B. So that means I would say the mom's genotype is likely to be homozygous type B. Okay, so that's just an example of how we can figure out what the blood types are based on the parents. And there are going to be some questions in the problem sets where you're going to be given the children's genotypes, and then you got to figure out what the parents' genotypes are as well. But that's all going to be in your problem sets that you're going to be doing today. All right, so that's it for now. If you have any questions, make sure you send the questions my way.